how we're going to solve this example. And before that, you see the general form of any polynomial is an xn and keep going until a naught. I need to locate two things. An is the highest, the coefficient of the highest exponents. This is the highest exponent, the coefficient. So always make sure to range the polynomial from the highest to the lowest. And I need the constant. These two are important. And we need to locate on the polynomial. The coefficient with the highest exponents and the number. Then let's check. P over Q. P is just what? Factors of the constant. Q is just what? Factors of the coefficient here. These are two numbers. Don't overthink it. These are two numbers. We need the factors of the constant and the factors of the coefficient. Let's try this one on this example. I ask you, P equal what? P is the constant, right? The factors of the constant. Where is the constant? 15, right? Now tell me, which number you're going to multiply by other number to get 15?
5.
Start from the smallest, plus or minus 1, right? And what else? Plus or minus 3. And then plus or minus 5. And then 15. So these are the factors of the constant, which is 15. I don't care about the sign because I'm going to pick positive, negative, positive, negative. Like if you say positive 1 times negative 15 is negative 15. Negative 1 times positive 15 is negative 15. So I care only about the number. I'm going to take positive and negative. Is that okay? P is the factors of the constant. Where is the constant? 15. Now let's check where is Q.
4.
Q is the factors of I'm going to say here is a Q, which is plus or minus 1. What else? Plus or minus 2 and the hard so far. What's the next step? Our goal is to find what? Our goal is to find. What does that mean?
X-intercept factors or solutions.
He already prepared himself. The zeros is the solution, the factors, the x-intercept of this. How are we going to find it? We have to factor. It's 4. We can't factor it by grouping, so we're going to do this method. Is that okay? Don't forget, centric division. We're going to go back and do an example. But before we do the centric division, we have to do these steps. P is the factors of the constant. Q is the factors of the coefficient with the highest exponents. Okay? Now, P over Q, that's the important part. P divided by Q. Here's the P. I'm going to start. 1 divided by 1, plus or minus 1. 1 divided, let's say 3 divided by 2 by 1, plus or minus 3. And 5 divided by 1. Okay? 15 divided by 1. Okay? We're dividing all these numbers by 1. Then divide all these numbers by. Then divide all these numbers by 4. We have to write down all these. So it's going to be plus or minus 3 divided by 2. Plus or minus 5 divided by 2. Plus or minus 15 divided by. Keep going. Then plus or minus, let's go back from, we forgot 1 over 2. plus or minus 1/2. We're gonna go back again. Plus or minus 1 divided by 4. Plus or minus 2 divided by 4, which is 2 divided by 4, which is
3.
no,
3 divided by 2.
3 divided by 4. There's no 2. 3 divided by 4. And 5 divided by 4, and plus or minus 15 divided by 4. Is that okay? Yes, it's a long, but you have to get all these. What do you call these right down here? These are all possible zeros. So when they ask you find all possible zeros, that's what you're gonna do. All possible zeros. It's not gonna be all of them zeros. Some of them is going to be the real zeros, which is the real solution, which is the real intercept. But these are the all possible zeros. We don't have extra one. Okay? We're gonna start from the first one, second one, and keep going. Is that okay so far? Possible zeros. We're gonna start from the first one. What's the first possible zero? I'm gonna start with -1. So I'm gonna say x equal -1. For a purpose, I'm gonna start from -1. Here is -1. We're gonna write down 4, -13, -32. So 4, -13, -32, and -15. Is that okay? Now, do you still remember the symbolic division? We're gonna bring it down 4, -1 times 4. Add these together, -17. Now, -1 times -17. Add these. Negative or positive?
-15.
-15. -1 times -15. How much going to be? What does that mean? That's mean this time I didn't know, because on the solution they picked 1. So I said, okay, I'm gonna pick -1. I didn't know the answer. So I'm telling you, so -1 is what? -1 is a solution. Is that okay?
If it's 0,
Why? Yeah, because the remainder is 0. So when the remainder is 0, that's the key. That means this one is going to be a solution. Now let's go back and write down the polynomial. This one is what going to be? Constant. Okay? This one, x squared. Now let's write down the new polynomial. So alpha for the x is going to be equal what? This one is x plus 1, right? Talking about this one. This one is the solution. How I'm going to write down the factor? I have to move the number to the other side. So it's going to be x plus 1. Write down this. 4x squared minus 17x minus 15. Is that okay? Check what I did. This is a solution. Why? Because the remainder is 0. Now, how I'm going to write down the factor? I have just to move the number to the other side. So x plus 1. So this one is a factor for the polynomial. And here is the left. Check what happened. This is the original polynomial. What you did?
Factor.
You factor the polynomial. Now, can I factor this one? Yes or no?
You get x out.
Can you factor it? So here is f of x.
No, you cannot.
X plus 1. You open 2 parentheses. You put 15, 5, and 3. 2. Can you factor it? I'll give you a few minutes. Try it. So this is with power 3, and lowest to power 2, which is quadratic. This is the factor. Now I'm going to open 2 parentheses. What I'm going to put here. When you put 2x, it's going to be wrong. We tried. So here is an x. What do you put here?
X plus 3.
3 and 5. That's a 3 and minus. Now let's check. Because 3 times x is 3x. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Add these is going to be negative 17. So these are the 2 factors. Check what happened. Did we use all these possible zeros? No, we start only with 1, and both is going to work. Positive, I start with negative. I didn't know that. I put negative here, it's worked. Why? Because the remainder is 0. What about if you choose 1 and you get the remainder is 5? What are you gonna do? I told you I didn't know. I just choose -1 and we get remainder is 0. But what about, because when I ask you choose, you said 1, which is fine. But if you choose 1, you get the remainder is 15. What are you gonna do?
Keep going.
Try another one.
Cancel this one, you're gonna go to the -1. Try another possible, because all these possible zeros. So you start with 1. If the remainder is not 0, you're gonna go to where? To -1. If the remainder is 0, you're gonna keep going. Check what happened. Quadratic. Boom, that's it. This is the x-intercepts. This is the factors of the polynomial. The solutions, you're gonna solve it, equal each one to the 0 and solve it is going to be a solution. You got it? Can we jump to the next example? And do the same thing? Let's check this example. First of all, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. That means it's a range from the highest to the lowest. I need this number and this number. Now tell me, E equal what? The factors of the constant. So it's going to be the factors of the 3, which is
23.
and plus or minus 3. Q is the factors of the coefficient with the highest exponent, which is a plus or minus 1 and only possible zeros, only these.
If the numbers are positive, do you still need to put the negative in there?
Yes. Why? Because the 3, I can get it from
2 negatives.
2 negatives. I can get it from 2 positives. So I have to put both signs always. Is that okay? That's the question. Now, the possible zeros equal P divided by the Q. So 1 divided by 1 and 3 divided by 1 and 1 divided by and 3 divided by. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know which one are you gonna start with. Jump to 3. Start from this one. So x equal 1. We're gonna start with 1. Let's start with -1. So now we're gonna put the coefficient, which is 2, 1, -5, -1, and 3. I have a question. What about if we have missing term? Missing term
With a 0.
with 0, yes. Be careful. Don't ignore the missing term. There is no missing term, so it's fine with us. Now I'm gonna choose -1. Here's 2. -1 times 2, -2. Add these together, -1. -1 times -1, 1. Add these together, -4. -1 times -4. Add these together, 3. -1 times 3. -1 times 3. -1 times 3. Less than 3, so this
The answer.
acceptable. So it's mean x equal -1 as well. Because the remainder is 0. Let's keep this one. This is the constant. This is x. This is x squared, and this is x. And we have one factor, which is x plus 1. Is that okay? Now, here's the new polynomial. Alpha of x equal what? X plus 1, and what's the rest?
3.
2x, perfect. 2x cubed minus
1x
squared. What else?
minus 4x.
Minus 4x. Is that okay? Now let's go back again. I need to factor it more. Can I choose the other number? Let's try x equal 1. I'm just going to work on this part. Now when x equal 1, write down only this part. 2, -1, -4, and 3. Choose 1. So write down the 2. 1 times 2. Add these. 1. 1 times 1. Add these. 1 times -3. Add these. What's that mean? That means x equal 1, also a solution. So it's going to be x minus 1. Is that okay? In this case, this one is the constant, x, and this one is square. So the new polynomial is going to be, don't forget this one, it's a +1. And the new factor is, and what's the left? 2x squared
plus x minus 3.
minus 3. Is that okay? Now, can we factor the last term? Alpha of x equals. Let's try here. I'm going to open 2 parentheses. I'm going to put here 2x and x. My goal is to get 1. So I'm going to put 3 here and 1 here. Did it work or no? Positive 1. So I'm going to put plus and check what we have. This one is the same thing here. So you have to, you don't have to write down twice. You can put x minus 1 squared. So our factored form is x plus 1, 2x plus 3, and x minus 1 squared. When you solve this one, x equal what? -1, right? This one, x equals 1. Here, x equals -3/2. Now check, these are the real zeros. These are the real zeros. Exist here in the possible zeros? Yes, plus or minus 1 and -3/2. These are the possible zeros. And now these are what? The real zeros. Got the idea? Let's do the same process, which is, I think you can factor this one by, no, you can't. X cubed minus 2x squared minus 14x minus 5. Okay. Let's do the same step. Do I have missing term? No missing term. Need to roll and equal what?
-5.
The factors of -5, which is plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 5. U equal
1 plus or minus 1.
just a plus or minus 1. So P over Q, the possible zeros is going to be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 5. That's it. We have 4 possible zeros. Which one are you going to start with? This time we're going to start with 1. Let's start with -1. You said -1, that's it. Let's start with -1. Write down 1, -2, -14, and -5. You see, I'm gonna write down the first number. -1 times -1. Add these.
3,
-1 times -3.
3,
Add these.
11,
-11. -1 times -11. 11. Add these 6. The remainder. That's 0. That's mean this is not a real zeros. Where are we gonna go? +1. So I'm gonna choose x equal +1. It's the same thing. -1, have 1, -2, -14, and -5. There's 1. 1 times 1. 1. Add these together. -1. 1 times -1. -1. Add these together. 1 times -15. -15. Add these together. Now we're gonna go where?
5,
The next 0, which is 5. And choose x equal 5. Same thing. -5, 1, -2, -14, and -5. 1. 5 times 1.
5,
Add these. 5 times 3.
3,
Add these. 5 times 5, 1.
5,
Add these.
0,
Have now a real zeros, which is x equal 5. The factor is x minus 5. This is the real zeros. This is the factor. This one is constant. X and now can I write down the polynomial? Alphabet x is going to be plus 5, sorry, x minus 5. And here is going to be x squared plus x squared 3x plus 1. This is the factor. Now tell me, can we factor this one? Say no.
Yes.
How?
'Cause you can't get 3 out of 1 times 1.
But we have another method.
Or you turn it into 2.
No, we can't. How are you gonna turn this one to 2?
X plus 2x.
First of all, can you open 2 parentheses and factor it? No, you can't. So there's another method.
Use -5?
No. That's it. This is a factor. We're not gonna choose -5. Now this is a quadratic. How? Yes. How are we gonna factor quadratic? If you can quadratic formula. So always when you're stuck, you can't open 2 parentheses and factor it. Think about using quadratic formula, which is this one is a equal 1, b equal 3, and c equal 1. So the formula is going to be x equal what? Negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. Plug in negative b is going to be -3 plus or minus square root. B squared minus 4 times a is 1 times c is 1 divided by 2 times 1. So x is going to be -3 plus or minus square root of 9 minus 4 divided by 2. So x is going to be equal -3 plus or minus square root of 5 divided by 1. That's what we have. When I told you this one is a real zeros. It's a real number 0. This one is not a real number 0. It's still a 0, but not a real number. You got it? So always when you're stuck, you can't factor it here. You're going to use what? Quadratic. Okay, so far? So complex number, that's how it looks like. A plus IB or A minus, let's say plus BI, the same thing. This is the real part and this is the imaginary part. So these are 2 complex numbers. You can write down like this form or this form. Now, the conjugate for the complex number, A minus IB, or you can say A minus BI. So the conjugate is a complex number. Now, one of these notes, they're telling you if this number is a real 0, the conjugate is going to be a real 0. You got it? So when you solve the problem and you figure out a complex number is a 0 for the polynomial, right away, write down the conjugate is also a 0 for the polynomial. You got it? We're gonna check that with the example. So what they're telling you, given that, example 4, given that what?
It's 5.
1 minus 5i is what? It's a 0. So when you look to 1 minus 5i, is that a complex number? So by using one of these, the conjugate 0 theorem, the conjugate for this number is also a 0. What's the conjugate for this number? 1 plus. So how many zeros do I have? I have 2 zeros. That the idea? Now we need to find the rest. I ask you, find the remaining zeros. We have the function which is f of x equal what? X cubed
Is 3x squared.
right, plus 28x and 6. So this is the polynomial. Now tell me which zero you want to use. Which zero you want to use? I have this zero and I have the other zero. They're telling you, they give you one of the zeros. So you don't have to find the possible zeros.
Okay.
You got the idea? You can, it's fine. If I ask you, find the zeros, and I gave you one of the zeros, you can use the possible zeros. You're gonna get the same answer. You got the idea, but I'll make it easier for you. I'm telling you, this is one of the zeros. We don't have to go and do all possible zeros and then figure out which one I'm gonna use. I give you one zero. It's a complex number. Yes, that's mean the conjugate is also a zero. So now I'm gonna choose this one or this one. It's fine. Let's work with the original one. So do I have missing term? No. So 1, -3, 28, and -26. What I'm gonna write down here? 1 minus 5i. You have to write down the whole thing. Not just one. Write down the whole zero. And be careful here. Kind of space. One, -3, 28, and -26. Okay, let's start. Write down the first number. The whole thing here times 1. 1 minus 5. Is that okay? Now, how are we gonna add these together?
You just do the left side. So it's gonna
Wait. Let's start.
-2 minus 5i.
-2 minus 5, because you can. This is a real number. You're gonna add with the real number and keep the I by itself. Okay, so it's going to be -2 minus 5i. Is that okay? No, here is the important part. I need to multiply this one times this one. How are we gonna do that?
Foil it or no?
Foil it. Do it on the side. Yes.
That'll work.
1 minus 5i. Deal with the I as x. Don't confuse yourself. But don't forget the note. Each I squared equal what? You forget that? Equal what? Equal -1. So I'm gonna write down what's the other number? -2 minus 5i. Let's foil it. 1 times 2, -2. 1 times -5, -5i. Now -5i times -2, positive 10i. -5 times -5, I squared. How much the value of I squared?
-1.
The I squared is -1. So it's -2 minus 5i plus 10i plus 25 times. Now 25 times -1, -25. So let's write it down. Write down this again, so you know the steps. Minus 25. Now can I combine the like terms? -25 minus 2, -27 minus or plus 5i. Is that okay? Yes or no? Now what I'm gonna write down here. -27 plus 5i. Is that okay? Next step. Add these together. So 28 minus 27, 1 plus 5i. We're gonna go and use the same steps again. Now 1 minus 5i times 1 minus 5i times what?
Plus 5y.
1 times 1, 1. 1 times 5, negative 5 times 1, negative 5i. Negative 5 times 5, negative 25i squared. Okay? Now what do we have? We have minus 5i and we have a plus 5i. Cancel it. Left is 1 minus 25. I squared is negative 1. So 1 plus 25, which is equal to what? 6. So what are we going to get here? Add these together. Okay, this is the hardest one, I'm telling you. Is that okay so far? So what do we have? This one is now what? 1 is 10. This one is x. This one is what? Did we finish? Now what I'm gonna do? I need to find all zeros. How many zeros we found? This one I used it. Now simplify it to this part, right? Now how am I gonna simplify it more? Do I have another zero? What else?
1 plus 5i.
1 plus 5 is a 0. So I'm gonna now I use the negative, I'm gonna use the conjugate to factor the rest. So now I'm going to write down this again. I'm gonna write down the new 0, which is 1 plus 5i. What I'm gonna write down here? 1
2
minus 2 minus 5i and
plus 5y.
5i. I'm gonna give you a few minutes. Tell me how much it's going to be. Write down the first number, right? Here's the first number. Multiply the whole thing here times 1. 1 plus 5i. Is that okay? Here, look here. So when you add these together, negative 5 plus 5, 0. Negative 2 plus 1, negative 1. Now the whole thing here times negative 1 minus 5i. Add these together. You're finished. So this one now is the constant. And this one is going to be our polynomial. Equal what? Be careful here. What's the first zero?
Minus 5y.
So how are we gonna write down as a factor?
Minus 1.
No, I need to write down the factors.
Oh.
Remember before here, when we finish the polynomial, we need to write down like this form, right? So how am I gonna write down here? What's the first zero?
Minus 5i.
So x
Was
okay. That's good. X equal this number, right?
yeah.
Now move this one to the left side. That means x minus the whole thing here, right?
5.
So x minus parentheses 1 minus 5i. You got it what I'm writing down? Yes or no? What about the next zero? The next factor, which is the positive one. It's going to be x minus 1 plus 5i. And the last one is what? X minus. You got it? You don't have to FOIL or whatever, just write down like this. Again, if you're trying to find the possible zeros and solve it, still it's going to be right. Nothing is going to be wrong. So they gave you x equal negative half. Our function is x to the power 4 minus x cubed plus 17x squared plus 9x minus 9. And they're telling you x equal negative half. Do I have to find the possible zeros? No, because they already gave you 2, they gave you negative half.
The conjugate is also
No,
zero.
no, the conjugate only with the complex number.
Oh, okay.
The conjugate only with the complex number here. Okay? So I'm gonna start with negative half. Is negative half or half? First of all, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So there is no missing term. Write down 2, negative 1, 17, negative 9, and negative 9. Now tell me, here is the first number, 2. Negative half times 2, negative 1, look up. Negative 1 plus negative 1, negative half times negative 2. Add these together, 18. Negative half times 18. Negative. Add these together. Negative half times negative 18. Add these together. So, because they're telling you x equal negative half is the zero of the polynomial. So 100% the remainder is 0. Now I already know this one is constant. X squared and execute. Let's write down and do the next step. Can I use it again? Let's try. Maybe it's squared. Remember one of the examples we have x minus 1 squared, right? Multiplicity 2 could be, it's gonna work if we use the same number again. That means x equal negative 2 is going to be a 0 with multiplicity 2, right? So let's do another again, it's half. But I'm gonna use this one. 2, negative 2, 18, and negative 18. That number goes down. Negative half times 2, negative 1. Negative 2. Add with negative 1. And negative half times negative 3. Going to be?
Halves.
Add these together, 100% is going to be 0 here. So that's been, you can't use it again. Now what's the next solution? How are we going to do that? We can't use the same 0 again. Let's write down the polynomial. We have f of x equals 0 here is x plus half. And what we have here, 2x cubed minus 2x squared plus 18x minus 18. Tell me how we're going to solve this one.
Factor it.
How?
Oops.
What?
Oops. I don't know. Let me see.
You can, yeah, you can factor by grouping. I'm trying to use the same thing, the centric division. You can factor by grouping, it's gonna be right. Did you? That,
Start working on that.
keep going. I'm not gonna say wrong, it's still right, because our goal is to reduce the power 4 in a way The remaining here, we have factor, the remaining we can factor. Let's go ahead with the grouping. So f of x equal. I'm gonna keep this one. And they're gonna ask you the way you factor it. So I'm gonna group the first two terms and the last two terms, right? Group this one. Group this one. What's the common here? 2x squared. What's the left?
That's one.
What's the common here? 18. What's the left? So x minus 1. X minus 1. X minus 1 and x squared plus 18. Is that okay? Let's write down again. That's the question. Alphabet x equal x plus half. What else?
X plus 1.
And
2x squared plus 18.
2x squared plus 18. Now the question, did I finish? Is that the factor form?
No,
What are we gonna do?
you can probably factor the 2x.
Yes. Not 2x, just 2.
Two.
Because there is no x here. There is a GCF between these. Must mean f of x equal what? 2 x plus half x minus 1 and here x squared plus 9. The two I factored from here. I'm not gonna write down here 2 in the parentheses. You have to move it where? Is that okay? They ask you to find the remaining solution, not the remaining zeros. These are the remaining zeros. These are the zeros, right? How are we gonna find the solutions?
Equal it to 0.
Just equal to 0 and solve it.
That's why they equal it to 0 in the problem, right?
Yes. Equals 0. That means x equal negative half. And x minus 1 equals 0. That means x equal 1. And the last one, x squared plus 9 equals 0. That means x squared equal negative 9. That means x equal plus or minus what? 3i. I don't know why I get an I here.
Is it plus or minus when you?
But why I put I?
The square root of a negative number.
Yes, because a square root for a negative number. Take a square root for both sides, right? So x is going to be put the plus or minus. The negative sign here is an I. Square root of 9 is. So how many solutions do we have? How many solutions? 4 solutions. Is it okay? Lot of information. Okay. Find the polynomial, okay? They gave you how many zeros? Tell me the zeros.
3i and 2.
Okay, wait. 3i, what else?
2.
2, there's no I? There's no I?
No.
It has it in
Just
Oh, 2 with multiplicity 2. That's important. So 2, and I'm gonna say multiplicity 2. Okay. Remember the notes I give it to you? The conjugate theorem. They're telling you if a complex number is a 0 for the polynomial, the conjugate is going to be what? Also a 0. Do we have complex number?
one. Yes, one.
3i is a complex number. The real number, the real part here is 0. So we don't have to worry about that, but it's still complex number. So that means negative 3i is also a 0. Is that okay? Let's write down. Write down the 0 here. Does that mean x equals 3i? Yes or no?
The tax should be X.
Yes, it's x. That's the solution. They give you the solutions.
Oh,
So x equals 3i. What else? X equals the negative 3i. And what else? So these are the solutions. They give you the solutions, right? So now, if I need to write down the factors, how am I going to write down the factors? Move the number to the other side. That means x minus here, here. Is that okay? Now, 2 with multiplicity, that's what I'm going to do here. Is that okay? Now we need to write down the polynomial. What I'm going to do? Write down this. Write down this. Now the question is that the general form? Why?
we need a
We need what?
follow everything
So how?
to
What we missing? Just look to this example and the previous one. What we missing? Look to this one. Don't just the shape of the graph of the polynomial. Parentheses, 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 parentheses. What we missing?
equal them to 0.
No. What we missing? This is how many parentheses? 3. How many parentheses? What I'm missing here? The 2, right? There is no number here. So which number I'm gonna put here? You can put 1 because we need to write down in general how much. How do you know the number is 1? How do you know it's 2? How do you know it's 5?
I think it has something to do with the multiplication.
Just put a variable.
X.
A, because we use A with the coefficient, right? So this is the general form. They should give you an extra information to find this number. Okay, we will see next example. They're gonna give you another information to find this one. So this one is the general form because we don't know how much the number here. 5, 10, 5, 6, 1. We can put negative. We can assume anything. They should give you the y-intercept. They should give you the y-intercept to find the variable here. So for this question, that's the answer. You have to put A here. Because if you're not going to put A, that means it's 1. Okay? It's going to be wrong. If they gave you the y-intercept, write down this note. If they gave you the y-intercept, that means the y-intercept, you're going to use it to find the value of A. Is that okay? And we will see next example. Next example. Tell me the zeros. Tell me the zeros.
2i and 4.
Wait.
Minus
Minus 2i and 4. Okay. What else they give you?
3.
Degree over 3. So I know the value n equals 3. What else? Number 7, right? We solving number 7. What else they tell you?
0 equals
P of 0 equal? P of 0 equal 3?
32.
13. Okay.
32.
32?
32.
Sorry.
So anytime it says P of X, that is the n.
No, n equal 3. They telling you the degree.
That means degree. N means degree.
Yet n is the highest exponent. Remember the general form? Start with n. So n is, you can write down degree equal 3. You don't have to write down n. Just extra information. Now, what we have negative 2i is a complex number. What does that mean? That means 2i is also a 0. So I'm going to write down x equal negative 2i. What else? X equal 2i. What else? X equal 4. Now write down the zero, the factors. X plus 2i. What else here? And here. Can I write down the polynomial now? Yes, f of x equal a and all these zeros. Sorry, the factors. Is that okay? So what we did here is exactly like the previous example. You have to put the value of a. Now what they're telling you, of course, this one, P of x or P of 0 is the same thing. F of 0 equal 32. Of the same thing. So don't confuse yourself. That's another example, which is the mean P of x. It's the polynomial. Okay. P of x equal how much? This is the y-intercept. This is the y-intercept. X is 0 equal what? The y-intercept when x equals 0. So they give you the y-intercept. Now, how much the value of y? So where is the value of y here? P of x. So this is 32 equal a. How much the value of x? 0. I'm going to put 0 here. 0 plus 2i. 0 minus 2i, and here 0 minus 4. That's mean 32 equal. There is a. This one is going to be 2i. This one is going to be negative 2i. And this one is going to be negative 4. This is 32 equal a. 2i times negative 2i. Negative 4i squared. Right? Be careful. Negative 4i squared, because I squared is important. It's negative. So I squared is negative 1, right? Times negative 4, it can be 4. 4 times negative 4. So here is going to be a times negative 16, and here is 32. Divide both sides by negative 16. How much the value of a? How much the value of a? Negative 2. Then, did I finish? What do I need to write down? Look to the question. What they're asking you. Find the polynomial. So I found the value of a. I have to go back and plug in a where? Here. That's mean our solution is going to be P of x equal negative 2, x plus 2i, x minus 2i, x minus 4.
That's the answer right there.
Yes.